Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2025 council meeting. This meeting will be live streamed, recorded, and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound's website at www.parrysound.ca. I'd like to acknowledge at this time that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. Prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting. It was moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor McCann. Pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, applicants to a town committee, K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, provincial land and development facilitator, future regional economic development in West Parry Sound, and N, educating or training council members and no members discuss or otherwise deal with any matters in any way that materially advances the business or decision-making of council. Minister of Education visit to the new JK to 12 school. Now, there are a couple of additions already to the agenda. There is a proclamation of Crossing Guard Week to add, and an additional deputation from Mr. Jackson. Any other additions or prioritization of the agenda? No? Mover and seconder for the agenda, please. Councillor McCann, Councillor McDonald, that council agenda for June 3rd, 2025 be approved as amended. All in favor? And that's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest to the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Councillor Bileski, Councillor McCann, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 20th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those minutes? All in favor then? Carried. Thank you. Questions of staff. Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Cairns, can you just advise what is the status of some of the line painting? Because I do see some happening today. Could you please advise?
Certainly, through your worship. So the contractor did arrive in town. I'm not sure the exact date. I think they started on the weekends on the pavement markings, the turning markings. They've been continuing through town. We are still awaiting the line marking truck, which is a different crew. So they were scheduled to be here yesterday or today, depending on weather and other schedules. So barring any terrible weather conditions, we should see it in the next short time.
So just to follow up, provided we don't get too much rain, anticipation, like 2 weeks, should it be done by then? The line painting?
Through your worship, they actually, once they get started, they'll be done much quicker than that. So within a couple of days of starting, you should see the lines painted through town. It's a very efficient process once everything's rolling.
Through the mayor, just add town staff wrote marking painting lines as well. That's currently in process.
Councillor Bileski?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Mr. Kearns. A couple things concerning trees, I guess. Last Tuesday, I was at the automotive show open on the street there, and right in front of it. I'm sorry I haven't got the building number. I had it written down, but I haven't got the piece of paper with me. I wrote it on, but in front of I branched out the original location, the storefront that he has there. There was a tree taken out there a couple of years ago, I understand. And last year there was Unistone put back in because it had settled a wee bit. It settled again. And it's actually dangerous. I noticed a couple, not elderly people, but normal age, I'd say, tripped on it and almost fell. It would be a matter of taking the unistone out, building it up and putting it back in again. I don't think there'd be any cost involved for materials. It'd be just staffing time. If you could look at that for me, please. And looks like some trees are dying coming up Bay Street. Coming up from the bottom of here, coming up. I've got a photograph of it here. It looks like there's 4 or 5 trees that are dying. Coming up. Maybe you could get one of your tree people to look at that and see if they're dying or why they haven't foliaged yet.
Certainly, and through your worship, we typically do an assessment of the trees. Unfortunately, a lot of the trees that are planted in the tree pits have a finite life cycle. There's not a lot of room for them to grow. With the underground infrastructure, they're in pits and they tend to grow to a point where they reach the end of their life cycle and they need to be replaced. But we'll certainly take a look at those specifically. And if it's a matter of just trimming, if there's some dead branches or if it requires a complete replacement, we'll do that assessment. And certainly anytime anybody notices a trip hazard, something out of place, I would certainly encourage you to call our office. Our staff we have a work order system that puts that work right out into staff's hands almost immediately. So anytime anybody sees a discontinuity, a trip hazard, something of concern, please don't hesitate to call right away. And certainly we'll incorporate that into our work plan immediately.
And could I get a follow-up on these trees down here? Maybe next meeting, could you give us an answer then to whether they're dead, dying, or healthy?
Certainly, through your worship, we can do that, or we can perhaps send an email to council if we have that information ahead of time. We'll take a closer look at the trees. They're in the boulevard that you're referring to. Is that
That's
correct?
coming.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Councillor Bornwell?
Thank you, Your Worship. Also for Mr. Cairns, the railway crossing on Cascade Street's in pretty rough shape, Mr. Cairns. There's pylons and paint all over the place there, so I'm assuming the railway are intending to do some repair work. I'm wondering if it's possible for us to request. At one point, there was a nice level crossing there. I don't know what happened to it, but it got tore out and the old style wooden planks got put back in. And I'm wondering if it's possible for us to request the same type of crossing as is on Forest Street be used there. It's already not a very good place for a railway crossing on a curve on a hill. I just think that we need to do better there. There are big chunks of asphalt tore out. It's rough. There's some issues.
Through your
Every day, a couple times a day.
Through your worship, I just want to clarify, we can certainly make the request of the railway. We are not permitted to work on that crossing. The way the railway treats the road crossings is that our road crosses their crossing, typically. So they dictate the processes that are acceptable. That certainly doesn't preclude us from making some requests and passing along the information and encouraging them to do better.
Councillor McCann?
I think they must have recently done some work on the Orange Street crossing. It seems to be smoother recently than in the past. I guess this is for Chief Thompson. We had a situation about a week ago where hydro pole or transformer caught fire, and eventually the top of the post came down, causing the hydro lines to fall upon Highway 400. Could you describe how that, understand that everyone was out and did a good job in terms of redirecting traffic and fixing things up? But I guess my concern again, once again, the question that begs to be asked is it took some time to get somebody from Lakeland over. Uh, if you're talking about a transformer that's on fire, did I hear correctly that one worker in a pickup truck came 2 hours later, and once this event had started?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have the timesheet right handy with me here tonight, so I want to just be careful about, the definition of times. We did have a, whether it was a switch or a transformer that was on fire on the, far side of the 400. When I say that, I mean the Mill Lake side of the 400. I think this was 2 weekends ago now, I'm not sure. And it eventually did burn off the top of the pole so that the pole snapped and the wires sagged across Highway 400 and traffic had to be rerouted through town, both north and southbound, for a significant period of time. In arriving on scene, we identified that there was an issue with the hydro and that a utility needed to be called. It did take a little bit of time to discern whether that was going to be Lakeland or Hydro One. In this case, it was Lakeland. They were notified in a timely fashion. Their first personnel on scene was a single resource in a pickup truck. By that point, by the time that person was on scene, the pole had already snapped and the wires were already sagging. So it maybe a single resource would have been able to do more work if it had been prior to the pole actually snapping. However, once the pole snapped, it was a much bigger problem to repair it, to be able to free up traffic to travel on the 400 rather than traveling through town. We were very fortunate. One of our members works for a utility and clearly identified for us that that pole was about to snap. Our staff on scene were able to get police to attend and to put the safeties in place on Highway 400 just prior to that pole snapping. I feel quite grateful actually that we have that member on our team with that level of experience who was able to identify that problem with enough time to ensure that no major accident happened or nothing else happened on the highway when that pole snapped. So we were quite fortunate that way. It caused a great deal of traffic chaos in town. I received numerous phone calls while it was occurring about the great deal of traffic. And it did take a long time to repair as the pole had to be replaced or a significant repair had to be made anyways.
Thank you very much for all that, and certainly it was a significant event. So no one was hurt, and it sounds like the timing was on our side. That when you talk about hydro lines falling down across a major highway, that's gets your attention.
Chief Thompson, I was going to say, if you can, send me an email or whatever with the timing with regard to when it was first recognized that Lakeland needed to respond and the period of time that it took. That would be appreciated because I have a shareholders meeting that I have to attend on Friday. And I will make sure that one of my asks is that we really need to revisit, somebody make sure that a crew is somewhat closer here than what it currently is.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly. I would like also to note that Lakeland has put in place the ability for senior fire staff to be able to contact them directly and request an area-wide shutdown. The intent for that is for life or limb emergencies. That means, someone's about to either be seriously injured or perish. This didn't meet the threshold for that. We considered it, senior staff. And unfortunately, it was a major inconvenience is what occurred with the amount of traffic that had to be detoured through town. And I'm sure it was a major inconvenience for those people who were traveling in between Sudbury and Toronto as well, rather than just town residents.
I have a question for Mr. Kearns. Mr. Kearns, actually talking about Lakeland Power. Can you give an update on the EV charging event that they just had?
Certainly, and thank you, Your Worship. So this past Saturday in Bracebridge, Lakeland Solutions put on their EV charging event in the park off right downtown Bracebridge. And as part of that, we were invited in the town of Parry Sound to attend. So Mr. Bonazza and myself took over some of our EV fleet in terms of our little Max EV and our cemetery electric zero-turn mower, along with one of our administration vehicles that's full EV now too. So it actually turned out to be quite an interesting event. They had a number of vendors there. We set up in one corner as the town of Parry Sound. We were the only municipality present with EVs on site. There were some private vendors, Volkswagen, Georgian College. There was a hydrofoil and a converted boat. So Graydon Smith was through, some folks from Lakeland themselves, as well as I believe the Mike Schreiner from the Green Party, and the Green Party candidate, Mr. Richter was there as well. So it was interesting. We had, I think we had great feedback from some of the municipalities. Some of the politicians from Bracebridge attended directly. There were staff from the District of Muskoka that were, I'd have to say, quite impressed that we were as far along as we are in terms of adoption of EV and working towards those climate change initiatives, and proving to folks that it's not only possible, but you can integrate it pretty easily into your fleet services. So we had lots of great feedback actually. So that was I even managed to drag my son along. So there were electric motorcycles which caught his attention. So there are a lot of a lot of really neat things happening in that realm. And maybe it's a good time to put a little bit of a plug into the climate action event on the 12th here locally at the Stocky Center.
Right.
So from 1 to 6 after the ice cap event. And we're making plans to have our entire EV fleet down at the Stocky for folks to take a look at amongst a whole multitude of other climate related initiatives. So
Good. Thank you. That's good. Good to hear we're moving along. Yeah. Okay, no more questions? No? Oh, sorry, Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. Speak for Mr. Cairns, I believe. I've been questioned about the possibility of looking at perhaps putting in a pedestrian crossing where Gibson Street meets Bay Street. There seems to be a lot of pedestrians crossing over there to get to the town docks and whatnot. And I'm just wondering if there's ever been either a study or any thought about maybe putting in either a pedestrian crosswalk or something there in that location.
Through your worship. So just so I understand, you're talking about Gibson and Bay. Okay. So I can honestly say, no, we haven't specifically looked at that location. One location that we are looking at is the fitness trail crossover. So we have you folks may have seen a camera down there mounted on the pole. So that's part of a pilot that we're doing with Remudan, which is our company that supplies our streetlights and sensors and that sort of thing. So, and the reason that we were concentrating on that is because of the fitness trail crossing, and it is an unprotected crossing. So, it's certainly something we can look at a little closer, maybe collect some more data so we understand, from which side of Gibson Street, perhaps, that most of the pedestrian traffic is crossing over. I do have to say for myself, I am not a fan of unprotected pedestrian crossings. There's a false sense of security to pedestrians, and a misunderstanding of motorists. So if we're going to look at it, certainly we would probably look at it from the perspective of a protected crossing, so a lit crossing, so the pedestrian can press the button and the lights come up for the motorists, so they understand that there's a requirement to stop to let the pedestrian cross. So we can certainly take a look at it. we'll take a look at it in conjunction with the one we're looking at further down.
Great, thank you.
Councilor McCann?
Sure, one more for Mr. Kearns then. Speaking of cameras, in the North Star online paper, there was mention of the fact that the speed cameras are going up on Joseph Street now. Can you bring us up to date on that and when we can expect them to be in operation?
Certainly, through your worship, you may see more information on that coming from the same source shortly. I believe, so Ms. Kruger and Bylaw have it up on our website now. So if you go in, there's a banner that will pop up and kind of give you that little blurb of information. So we are moving forward. The plan is to install the cameras in June. So the signage is up now saying the cameras are coming soon. That was in fact up March 7th. So there's a 90-day period. They have to be up a minimum of 90 days ahead of time. When the cameras are up and functional, there will be new signs that say that they are now in use, not coming soon, as the existing signs say. So the intention is in June. We are working through, there are a multitude of agreements with the province back and forth. There's this being a new administrative penalty system. There's some training that we're going through very shortly, actually in about a week or so. There's a number of staff that are taking some training required as part of the system. So the intention is to have it up and hopefully running by the end of June.
Another question then is, are these unidirectional or do they see traffic coming from both directions?
Through your worship. So given our location on Joseph Street, between Isabella and the best location would be the pool entrance, for instance. That's where the community safety zone ends. There'll be cameras in each direction. So they'll be able to effectively cover both lanes of traffic in both directions.
Thank you.
Councilor Keith?
Thank you. Just one question. As I recall, some time ago, I've asked about what we can do to improve that intersection of James and which intersects with William and Rosetta there because of that curve in the eyesight. There's a bit of a blind spot there. Is that still being examined so that whether we get rid of a couple of parking spots or whatever can be done, because we know busier season is coming and the problem still is there. What's the scoop, please?
Through your worship. So as you mentioned, Councillor Keith, so the initial thought, we've been in discussion with bylaw and operations as Mr. Harris mentioned, we are out, our staff are out painting the lines, which include the parking lines. So our intention is to have an elimination of one spot on either side of the road, I guess to the west of that intersection, so heading down James Street, because that changes the angle of the sight line and improves the sight line because of a wider angle of vision from that intersection. So when there's cars parked, that narrows down your field of vision on oncoming traffic. One spot on either side, we think will make a significant difference in the sight lines. And as I mentioned before, certainly we can, if council's desirous of it, we could look at some speed limit changes in certain areas of town where it perhaps makes more sense. When you have more congested areas, we could give a consideration to a lower speed limit than 50. We do know that when it's 50, obviously people tend to travel occasionally a little faster in some of these intersections and areas of town. I can say I don't feel comfortable driving 50 through some of the areas just because of the configuration and the traffic. So those are always considerations but the plan is to have the elimination of one spot on either side to widen out that field of vision down James Street currently. So there are other things we can consider in the future if we feel that that didn't have the desired impact or the correct level of impact.
All right. Ms. Johnson, correspondence, please.
Mayor McGarvey, we just have a couple items of correspondence this evening. The first is from Charlene Johnson and George Stivrins of Harbor Walk Shops. They note that this year they're introducing a free one-day pop-up shop program to support small Parry Sound-based businesses, particularly those with tourism-focused products and services. The requirements of participating businesses are to submit a brief application and book their preferred date, and they have an online calendar to do so, and also to provide proof of insurance and a signed agreement. Then the second item of correspondence is from Dr. T.J. Henderson. It's in response to both council's determination to do a parking review of Bow Street and an article that was in the online local news. Dr. Henderson writes to express support for a redesign of Bow Street, looking at reducing lanes of traffic and creating more public space for safe transportation alternatives. He's speaking of bicycle lanes and prioritizing pedestrians over cars. So those are just the two items of correspondence.
Thank you. Next we have deputations, and our first deputation is Ron Jenkins. Wants to talk about sidewalks. Welcome. Oh.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mayor, everybody here. I'd like to know how far we are with the sidewalks on Bowl Street. Is because I just got another broken wheelchair parts. And I'm getting really upset with this. And it seems like you guys are sitting on your hands and playing different games and not really concentrating on what the sidewalks for the people that have scooters or wheelchairs. Now, Mayor, you told me that you don't pay for wear and tear. I wouldn't have wear and tear if you fix the bloody sidewalks. You know, it's been 6 years since I've been here to say about the sidewalks. And you said that you didn't have the budget then. And then I waited and waited, and now it's 6 years I left, came back and said, how come you didn't have the money to fix the sidewalks? I'm very upset with this. And it seems like you guys just ignore it. And when I asked everybody here that I will rent a wheelchair or a scooter for all years on board here to go with me for one day, for 1 hour, and see how these sidewalks are. And you guys don't want to do it. To me, I'm upset with that is because then it shows me that you guys don't think that you're good enough. You know, you're too good enough to do this with me. And I get very angry. I get emotional about this. And I will not stop. I will still fight. And I still got the Barry's News. They're coming to me. And we're going to have a protest here with everybody that has a wheelchair and a scooter. And we're going to block the city hall. And they're going to come and show up. And they're going to, everybody around Canada is going to hear how you guys are with these bloody sidewalks. I'm getting upset with this. When are you going to fix them?
Mr. Jenkins, I think staff have some information for you over a period of time or whatever, as I will leave it to Ms. Phillips and Mr. Kearns as to how much has been spent on sidewalks over a certain period of time.
Okay, just before she gets into this, on William Street, you fixed that sidewalk across from me. It was not because it was broken. You fixed it so that you could put your plows down there to blow the snow away. It's because it was narrow for your things. Yes, that's what happened. It wasn't that it was broken or has pieces missing.
Mr. Jenkins, you have been allowed to say your piece. Okay?
Well, I'm allowed to say it is because what you're going to say is, well, we spent money on William Street on that one side and did the sidewalk from Cascade all the way to the corner.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yeah.
you have been allowed to express your opinion or your feelings on this. I would now like to hear from staff
Okay.
as to it, and I would appreciate if you allowed them
Mhm.
to give their information or whatever, so that the public also knows how much has been spent and what has been done.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Mayor. So over the past 3.5 years, $985,503 has been spent on sidewalk capital repair costs and repairs and maintenance on sidewalks. I'll turn it over to Mr. Kearns as he can speak to which sidewalks.
Certainly. Thank you. Through your worship. So over that same period of time, that dollar amount equates to about 1,100 meters of sidewalk. So 1.1 kilometers of sidewalk repaired, replaced, and the expenditures on it. I'd just like to add, in addition to that type of expenditure and work that we do have a number of large capital replacement projects underway. So on the proposed work that's about to start from Marion on Wood to Isabella, and from Kristen Heights on Isabella up to Winifred, essentially, just to give you a concept of that distance, that will be replaced under the Capital Works project. So that's all new sidewalk in that area. That creates some links in some missing gaps, and certainly in a very important portion through the rail safety improvement program across the double rail crossing. And also on Glen and Victoria, which is currently underway, it's in its second year. There'll be new sidewalks from Wabeek to up just past Ethel, connecting that down to Wabeek Street as well as part of that capital. I think I'd just like to add that when we do assessments of what sidewalks need to be replaced, we do an assessment based on the minimum maintenance standards. When we do repair and replace sidewalks, they are built to the current standards from an accessibility perspective. And perhaps I'll add too, we do have an accessibility advisory committee, and I know a number of members of council and staff have attended with some folks that utilize mobility devices on a fairly extensive walk to hear what the concerns were. And we did hear that, and there are concerns with generally the way in which sidewalks are designed and approved by the province. So when we construct them to a standard, and we heard the people, the folks, the users saying, it's not the most enjoyable ride in the sidewalk because of the way that the panels are constructed. And there are reasons that the panels are constructed from an engineering and longevity perspective. So we did hear too that on Bow Street, the majority of those users preferred to use the side of Bow Street that has an asphalt path on it because it's a much smoother ride. Now there are challenges with that too, maintaining the asphalt, because and again, it's not an approved design standard from the provincial perspective for a sidewalk to make an asphalt path. We also will be replacing the section of Bow Street from Greenwood up to the Shoppers Drug Mart entrance, which is agreed very poor condition at this point. So it will be replaced as soon as construction season gets underway this year as well.
thank you. So you have some answers as to what it is, or what we have done and what we are doing. Do any council members have any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Councillor Bileski.
Thank you, your worship. Not so much a question. I understand your issues and I understand, and I sympathize with your issue. the town's doing what they can I know you'd like to see a certain area of sidewalk be done ahead of another area of sidewalk where closer to where you go. I take a bit of an exception to the fact that none of us care. I know I care, and I'm quite sure that every member of this council cares and has feelings for your issues. Nobody's ever came to me and said that, as you were suggesting, you will rent us a wheelchair and let us suffer what you're suffering. I don't even remember that happening. And I don't even remember turning it down. I can assure you, sir, that this council, I shouldn't maybe speak for this council, I can speak for myself, that we do care, I care. And I don't want to see you going through the issues you're going, but we have to follow our process. We have to follow a level of service that's set out by the municipal, by the province for us, so. I'll leave it at that, but I can assure you that I care, and I'm quite sure every member of this council cares equally as much as I do with your issues. Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jenkins, for bringing this forward. I am on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and I know that what Mr. Cairns had mentioned a few minutes ago about the members of the committee, and that we are aware and concerned about the issues in the community, but we also recognize that only so much can be done each year in respect to expenses. I know, and I suggest again, that perhaps you would like to put your name forth to become a member of the committee, as we certainly are looking for a couple more members. So I am making that suggestion also to you. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Jenkins has been offered the opportunity to be on the committee before and has declined. Ms. Phillips, how much was spent on William Street?
On William Street in 2024, 122,831
Thank you.
was spent on sidewalks.
Mhm.
Well, that was
Yeah.
spent because of you guys need your plows digging on either side. And it was gouging it and the people were getting upset with it. So what you did is you took it apart and built it so it's easier for your plows to go through. So it wasn't broken before. There's no potholes, they weren't, nothing. Cause I use that side all the time.
Mr. Jenkins, we're gonna go around in circles on this.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think what needs to be understood is that there's been over $800,000 spent in the rest of this community on sidewalks in the last 3.5 years. And we are going to be spending more money to upgrade sidewalks and add additional sidewalks as we go along. But I hope you understand what you have just heard is that we have to follow provincial guidelines and regulations as to sidewalks and how they're constructed, okay, and how they're built. And there are accessibility standards that the province has that we have to follow, okay?
Mhm.
And those standards, if we don't follow them, then we get into trouble. So we follow those guidelines. They may not suit you personally, and they may not suit some other people, but we have to follow those guidelines. And so I think tonight, I thank you for coming forward and sharing your concerns, okay? You've had an opportunity before in the past to join the Accessibility Committee. That offer is extended to you again to join it if you want. You can certainly get a hold of staff and ask to be on the committee. And you can share your concerns with other people that are also in the same situation as you are as well.
Okay, well,
So, but
I was talking to someone, I don't know who it was, but it was for doing the sidewalks. I don't know if it was that gentleman over there, but one of them. And he called me and asked me what section was wrong. And I told them, and I said also at the Little Gardens, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. It's because you go like this, then it drops, then you go like this, and then you go up, and then you go across, and then you got two driveways, and it's just like a roller coaster. Okay, and I said that from the beginning, when the first time I had a meeting with you about this.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that staff have taken a note of that. Councillor Borneman has a question.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pretty sure that Prairie Sound's not the only urban center that is experiencing this issue. Mr. Cairns is right. He and I and Mr. Bonanza, I believe, took a couple of strolls with folks. And I'm wondering if maybe council should craft a resolution to send to the province asking them, you know, in view of the repeated pleas from from this gentleman and others, because we heard that loud and clear from the other folks as well, Mr. Cairns, that the way sidewalks are currently constructed is not wheelchair friendly, and it's pretty easy to see that. So I'm wondering if we could take some time and craft a resolution to send off to the province to ask them to review the standard.
Sure.
Taking into account the AODA, because until they change the standards, we keep building them as they are.
Yep.
And what we're building doesn't service everyone well.
True. Yeah. So Mr. Kearns, maybe we can have something for the next council meeting, whatever that might address that particular issue. Okay, Councillor Keith?
Yes, what I would add to that is some financial contribution also, because I think that's an important part. Also, if the province is having expectations realistic, I think they should be assisting financially to our small community, because as mentioned a moment ago, we are spending a fair amount of money on sidewalks, which are necessary, but I don't think it would hurt to add a bit of a financial contribution or financial support.
Okay. Thank you for your deputation, and we will be addressing a resolution to try and see if the province can change their accessibility standards so that something can be done. We will take a look at, staff will take a look at that section or whatever that you're talking about on Bow Street. And we have other deputations that are lined up to speak tonight.
Yes,
So-
I'm willing to, if he wants to call me and we set up a time to go and show him personally where it is.
Yeah.
Cause I know Bull Street's really long.
Yeah. I think you've identified the area though by the business location.
Yeah, but I still will
Yep, that's
do
fine.
that
That's fine.
if he's willing to do it.
Mr. Kearns can get your phone number and someone can go with you with that. Okay?
Okay.
Apparently you asked for that today.
Yes, I would like to know about this. Are you guys gonna pay for it?
I don't know what it is.
It's the damages of 1,236.62
For what?
on my wheelchair.
Oh, okay. A response was given in 2020 to that question. I was
Right.
just told.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I will take it then further, because I'm out of this money. I can't afford to keep getting my wheelchair fixed. And this amount is expensive. And it has happened on the public sidewalks the city owns. So I'm asking for that, to pay, you guys pay for it, to get it fixed.
We cannot give you an answer tonight on that.
You can't say yes or no right now?
Nope.
Okay, so when will it be?
That would be a discussion with staff. And you've already had an answer on that particular one.
Yeah,
would
well,
have-
that one there, that's when you guys
You would have to resubmit.
saying that wear and tear that you guys don't pay for. I wouldn't have the wear and tear if you fixed the sidewalk.
Miss Phillips?
Through Mr. Mayor, we'll take a look at the documentation provided and
Oh, you were Mike.
get back to Mr. Jenkins
Okay.
within like less than 2 weeks or,
Okay, all right, thank you.
okay?
Okay?
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson? '21 River Street.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Yes, I'm here about a bylaw that's on the agenda tonight for 21 River Street. It's kind of an important bylaw in conjunction with one of my clients who is working on the development on the Marriott Hotel. And so he acquired this property at 21 River Street to house some of the employees for the project, which is to start this month. And he asked me to attend to point out a couple of important factors, and that is the timing primarily. The public meeting was held previously. The original application was for 13 executive apartments. We have responded to some concerns in the neighborhood to rejig the proposal to 10 apartment buildings. And in doing so, we're asking that the bylaw include a variance in terms of the size of the parking space, which will facilitate some needed snow storage, landscaping, fencing, and to put all of the parking at the rear so that there's one space for each unit with 2 available visiting parking spots between the sidewalk and the front of the building. So I'm mostly here to answer any questions because the owners now have building plans they wish to file to proceed to do the renovations to facilitate obvious need for the project in combination with what's happening at the harbor. So if there are any questions, Your Worship, through you, I'd be happy to try and answer them. I think we're in a good place. I feel that the reuse of the property, which has significant history, some of it's not so good, is going to be an overall improvement in the community. So my sense is this is a very positive move forward with respect to 21 River Street. So thank you for that. And if there are questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I would appreciate if council had any questions with regard to that bylaw, that if they could ask Mr. Jackson while he's here. I appreciate the fact that he's come forward to be able to do that. So Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Jackman, for appearing this evening. I've never been a big fan of infill, but I know that housing is needed, and I was happy to see that the developer has dropped down from 13 to 10 units. You know, this is just a bit of a lament, I suppose, but we keep trying to squeeze in more cars into spaces, and the manufacturers keep making them bigger. I'm talking basically trucks. You know, we've all been there where you're trying to pull out of a parking lot and you can't see for the life of you something coming because it's a big honking truck parked right next to you. And in reading the report that's before us tonight, although staff seems to favor this, and I believe I will support this. I wish that they would have gone down to 8 units rather than 10. I'm just putting that out there. I guess, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought as to where I was going with this, but my point was that, I'm sorry, I must be having a senior moment.
If I could answer that through your worship, I think
Would you
that
please? Yeah.
the important factor from a planning perspective is what the change in use does relative to what existed. At one time, this rooming house had 23 rooms. And we're now converting it into a series of mixed apartments from studios up to 1 3-bedroom. But the average household size in the town is 1.9 persons per household. So if you transfer that information from a 23 rooming house density, you're going to get a little less. So I'm hopeful in terms of the math, at least, that we shouldn't have an exacerbation, a worsening of the circumstance there. So that I hope you'd look at it in that context, and I think you'd get some comfort.
I certainly have, and I agree that it's going to improve the neighborhood immensely. I think what I was going to say before was that in the staff report, that it seemed like we're sort of teeter-tottering on what the official plan would allow. But I will support this. I did want to make the comment that I think, we get to the point sometimes where we're trying to put a little bit too much in one spot, but it's a no-brainer that this is an improvement for the area, but I just a comment that I had on infill. So thank you for that.
And just to follow up, Your Worship, the issue seems to have swung in our present society from quality to quantity, no question, but it's about housing, getting more density. And again, because this is an established density, I'm pretty comfortable giving you my opinion that it should not be a worse situation.
One of the concerns I did have was with regards to the snow removal that people talked about, and is that been mitigated then?
Yes, there is an identified snow storage area on the revised site plan.
I did see that, so that should be sufficient.
Yes.
That should do the trick then.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bileski?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm in support of this. I'm glad to see that the temporary park or visitor parking is in front of it now, where permanent parking is all placed behind it. And I should have looked a little closer, and I didn't. The one handicap spot, is that in addition to the one for each unit, or is that would be included in the parking areas? Like that parking spot would be designated for someone that needed it to a certain apartment, or
It would be one of the 10.
one of them, yeah. Okay, and I see the snow storage is in the back corner of it, so I think we should be supporting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Borneman?
So I'm not sure if this is for Mr. Jackson or Mr. Rand or both, but when the public meeting was held previously, there were some concerns expressed by some folks in the neighborhood with respect to the number of units, parking, and so on. I assume that through this process and with the proposal tonight, that those questions and concerns have been answered, and what's here tonight does satisfy the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Through your worship to Councillor Borneman. I think overall we were also pleased to see the number of units decreased. as John mentioned, we like to see as much housing as possible, but certainly this one was a real balancing act in terms of recognizing that there is a established impact here. And it's really where do you draw the line? And I think 10 units is certainly appropriate. We are looking at one less parking space. One thing that I would note as well, while I have the opportunity to chat, is or address this, is that the rooming house was not full. So I don't think that the neighborhood saw the entire impact of what was there today, or what could have been there today in terms of full utilization of the building. But we certainly look at, when we evaluate planning proposals, not just what's there, but the full potential of what's permitted by law. And through this application, we're going to see a sort of more controlled usage in terms of the number of units, the parking, and yeah, very happy with the proposal, because I think as it was alluded to, it was a little bit tight with the 13, but I think we've come to a good resolution, and a lot of those neighboring comments have been resolved with regard to the fencing, the vegetative buffers, and the formalizing of the parking out front. Certainly helpful for our recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Rand. One of the things, what I saw as a positive is there didn't seem to be a community safety sort of concern expressed by residents in the area compared to the past. And did I miss something there? Because I thought that was pretty important also.
Through your worship to Councillor Keith, yeah, there were certainly some comments about like sight lines, visibility, safety with the parking that was out front. I think the original proposal had more intense parking out front and was just not as formalized as what we're seeing with the updated submission. So we were certainly much more satisfied with the current proposal.
But for clarification, there didn't appear to be the concern of public safety and respect to vandalism, damage to property. That did not come out as a reason for why this proposal wouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah, through your worship, I'd agree with that. When we make planning recommendations, we typically don't go into that kind of detail. We're really just looking at a change of use from one use to another. I think what Mr. Jackson has noted is that there are things outside of what we'd normally consider in planning in terms of overall improvement to the neighborhood. But certainly we can't regulate the types of clients or tenants that occupy buildings, whether it's owner occupied or that sort of thing.
No, I'm not asking that that is regulated. What I am saying is the concern of residents that responded to this proposal, that did not seem to come forth, that with the idea of whether it be 16 units or now 10, which seems more appropriate, that was not a theme that came forward.
Sorry, it's my understanding that some of the comments were about the intensity and the density and that sort of thing. So that was addressed in the staff report. Thank you.
Councillor Barnum?
Mr. Mayor, I would just ask that we move this forward on the agenda. We have Mr. Jackson and some others in attendance that are here for this purpose.
Is there a seconder for that? Okay, we got lots of seconders. If you want, we'll deal with it right now. And
Thank you,
then
Your Worship.
that way we can Mr. Jackson, you can stay there if you want. So it's moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2025-7513 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2004-4653, the zoning bylaw as amended, for part of lots 8, Plan 10, east side of River Street, and part of lots 8, Plan 10, west side of Wakefield Street, being Part 1, Plan 42R 4168, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any further discussion? Mr. Rand, did you have anything you wanted to add?
To your worship, I think the merits are well understood by council. I don't have anything further to add at this point. Certainly, if there's any clarifications on what's been added to the bylaw since the public meeting, we're certainly here to answer those questions as well.
I think I will make a comment, and that is, I've lived on that street for 36 years. And I've seen that rooming house busy. I've seen it on fire. I have seen a number of different things happen in that particular area or whatever. And this is a far cry, much better place than what was existing there or what could be. And I think moving forward with this in 10 units or whatever, given the potential of the existing site and the building as it stands, you could have 23 people living in that building, which means a lot more than what could possibly be in the 10 proposed units. It's going to be cleaned up. It's going to be, I think, addressed inside much better than what it is. And I think moving forward, as far as safety concerns go, I think it's going to be a lot better than what I've seen over the past 36 years. So, all in favor? That's carried, none opposed. Thank you. Reports. We'll start with Councillor Keith.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and the public. I have 6 areas to report on. I attended the Provincial Offences Advisory Committee meeting, and we have a new clerk and with a lot of experience, so that's a positive. I should also indicate that the prosecutor that we've had for 23 years is now going into retirement, but also we have a very qualified attorney that is now the prosecutor and taking over and has been working at times with the Provincial Offences Court. So things should flow very smoothly there. As for the number of tickets that have been issued, that is down. However, I can say it is no more down than anywhere else in the province, so we're consistent in that area. I attended the cruise ship Pearl Mist when it arrived on for its first visit for this year on a Tuesday. So I was doing the welcoming thing there with my sign, and there was roughly 181 passengers that attended, and they had very favorable comments about our community. So that's a great thing. I also attended the Parry Sound Public School fundraising because they're trying to fundraise for the playground equipment. So I thought that was a very positive, and there was a lot of parents and students out. Of course, the mayor was out there too, doing a fine job. So it all went well there. I also attended the practice sessions that the fire department had down at the water plant. I attended there a couple of days because also other municipalities were involved to see, watch how they're training for going in buildings, buildings that are on fire. So that was quite interesting. So I attended 2 days there for a little look and then went on my merry way, shall we say. I also went over to Wabano beach where the playground equipment is presently being erected. And it was certainly nice to see what's happening there. And the contractor certainly seems to know what they're doing there and putting up that equipment. And it was kind of interesting to see the sand, which was at the playground equipment, had been moved over now to the Wabano beach there. And there was a child up on the top with his toys. Kids seem to know how to make fun pretty easy. And he was up there. His mother was supervising him, but he was up there. And I think someday maybe he's going to be driving a truck because he had his toys up there and he was having a whale of a time. So that was kind of nice to see. And the last thing I would say is, again, I continued to pick up litter, and the bottom line is I collected 9 more bags in 10.5 hours. And the reason why I bring this to council's attention is people need to learn to respect their environment. And as I say again, if you can buy yourself whatever takeout food, take your empty whatever vessel back home. And if you have a dog and it goes out for a little walkie there, I do not understand why one cannot take up the droppings, which one puts in a bag, and take it back home or drop it in a town receptacle. And I bring this up whether some people find it amusing. I find it really sad that we are in a community that really we should all want to make our community the best it can possibly be and the cleanest it can possibly be, because it's all part of community pride. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keith, and I commend you for doing that. It's really appreciated. You're 100% correct that people should be responsible for what they drop after all they purchased it, or it is their pet, that sort of thing. And, you know, I certainly want to thank Peter King as well, because Peter King consistently every day goes out and collects refuge around the streets or whatever, especially in the North End. And every day he has a bag or two of garbage. And yeah, it would be nice if people could be more responsible. Councillor Bileski.
Thank you, Your Worship. On Thursday, May the 22nd, I attended a Park to Park Trail Association meeting. It was held at the airport, in the restaurant at the airport. We can't charge trail passes anymore. We can ask for donations to assist in it, but you can't sell trail passes. And if you sell a trail pass, then you're liable for any damages that can be done. So anyway, we're working on how we're gonna get that kind of settled. On Friday, May the 23rd, I attended the District of Parry Sound Municipal Association spring meeting. It was held at Callender. And we had, I guess, 7 or 8 possible speakers, presentations. Road management system was one of them. We had one that I found quite interesting. It was by a beekeeper on how they have 12 bee yards across northern Ontario. I didn't realize, and this is personally, but I didn't realize that some type of bees have an extended life, and some type of bees only live about a month or a week or so. They don't live very long at all. So it was quite interesting. And then we had a presentation by, and I'm going to mispronounce this as bad as I did when I introduced them, Bamachaton Search and Rescue Team. Okay. I think that's close to it. They assist with search and rescue of missing persons and that type of stuff throughout the province with the Ontario Provincial Police and the Ontario Search and Volunteer Association. Anyway, we had a great day. Lunch was served, and we had a good turnout. I'm saying probably 150 people there. So we had a very good turnout for it. So, and that's my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McCann.
Did we lose Councillor Ashford?
Counselor Ashford was at,
He was
Zooming in.
online. Okay,
but he was going to be
okay,
quiet, but he's not on. any
okay,
longer.
all right. I tried, George. So good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff and public. Thursday evening, May 22nd, the West Parry Sound District Museum monthly board meeting was held in person. I wasn't able to attend due to a previous commitment, but I'm happy to report on the meeting as held. There was a presentation of the draft financial statements for 2024 by Brandy Harris of Gingrich, Harris and Copeland, Chartered Accountants, followed by a motion to approve those annual statements. Other monthly financial statements were received and accepted for the months of April and March and April. Staff's working on a research library opening sometime this month. The actual date may be dictated by word from the Ontario Trillium Foundation. Staff is also working on a lighthouse exhibit in conjunction with Archipelago Township and the Canadian Coast Guard. And there's also expected to be open sometime this month. Other projects on the go, plus the planning of the grand opening of the model railroad installation. Now, I know it's been here for a while, but a real official cutting of the ribbon and celebration will take place when we can bring the creator of this this model set up from the Kitchener area, a Mr. Graham. His first name escapes me right now, and we'd like to have him on board for that. He spent years and years putting this together along with his wife. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll keep you informed on that. Two other things to report on. It's not so much in the line of municipal work, but I want to very much to take this opportunity to wish Cindy Jacklin, owner, or should I say former owner of Minuteman Press in Parry Sound, a very happy retirement. She took over the franchise in May of 1999, 26 years ago. She sold the business, which will be relocating downtown on James Street, and she will be assisting the new owner for a while until they get up and running. Cindy is a people person, and she's looking forward to family, gardening, some downtime, and most importantly, her grandchildren as she jumps into retirement. So thank you very much. A lot of projects wouldn't get done. If you've ever held a piece of letterhead or a business card or something, Cindy probably had something to do with it. We worked very closely with her when we put the Victory School Commemorative Project together. And when I published my own book on the history of broadcasting in Sudbury, she was instrumental in getting that together. So thank you, Cindy. And also another farewell, a fond farewell to the local iconic family business here in Parry Sound, founded in 1939. That's just a mere 86 years ago. G. Bernatti and Sons Limited is closing its doors. They'll be open for just a few months on site to sort of close up things. They want to thank all their customers over the years for their support and confidence in the family business, as states on their website. Certainly a special thank you to staff. If you don't know the story, it's quite interesting. The founder, I think it's pronounced Giacintianti, or George Bernatti, immigrated to Canada and opened its doors on Seguin Street as a shoe repair service in 1939. The company continued to prosper through the early 1940s during the Second World War. And of course, as we know, after the war, a lot of things changed. The abundant availability of plastics and imports and other materials made the purchase of new shoes much more convenient and affordable. So the business readjusted itself and they got into retailing shoes. But it was George's son, Joseph Bernatti, who took over as the second generation, and he was interested in orthopedic shoes and appliances, which were added to their sales. Then came a time when the market experienced a time when people were more anxious to spend their disposable income on recreation, and the growth of the cottage and boating industry meant that there was an increase in the demand for the repair and design of boat covers. And so you may recall that Joe Bernatti also served as a town councillor for the town of Parry Sound. And the company eventually relocated to larger quarters in 1984, moving to Pine Drive and eventually to River Street. And they're retiring from a 6,000 square foot facility. They've also sold the storage business, which is now operating under Sound Storage, I believe. So I just want to congratulate the family, the sons, the third generation, of course, is David, Paul, John, and their spouses and families that have taken over, and they're looking forward to retirement. And young John is looking forward to more business adventures. So congratulations to the family. Thank you for being such a great service and an institution here in Parry Sound over the last 86 years. Thank you very much, and good luck to you. And that is my report.
Thank you. Councillor Borneman?
Thank you, Your Worship. I too would congratulate the Bernetti family. They have been an institution
They
in
have
Parry
been.
Sound for a good long time.
Yep.
On May 28th, I attended the monthly meeting of the Board of Management at Belvedere Heights. We received the audited statement from KPMG. It shows that the home, life lease, and community support services continue to be in a strong financial position. We somehow or another received a fairly large rebate from WSIB. We spent some money investing in increased cybersecurity with respect to patient records and information. And as you've no doubt noticed, there's fencing about and trees coming down and so forth. Construction has started at the home and will continue for quite some time. May 29th, along with Councillors Ashford and McDonald, I attended at the Parry Sound Industrial Park meeting. Nothing remarkable to report with respect to finances at this point. There have been several recent inquiries with respect to purchasing property, and town forces under Mr. Cairns's leadership continue to work their way through and prioritize the recent engineering study that was conducted at the water plant. I'm going to back up for 1 second to Belvedere with a reminder of the annual general meeting scheduled for June 18th at 3 o'clock via Zoom. Finally, I mentioned the construction at Belvedere. It seems that we'll have just about everybody in town having construction in their neighborhood. Glen Street, Isabella, Wood, the pool, the new school, the hotel, the pumping station in the harbor, and tonight we learned that sidewalks on Bow Street. So we know that traffic is about to probably explode with so long as Mother Nature gets back on the meds, and we do have summer in 2025.
That's a good way of putting it.
So I would just encourage everybody to maybe slow down a little bit and exercise some caution with all of this activity going on around us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be short and sweet. May 27th, as Councillor Keith mentioned, we're down at the town docks welcoming the Pearl Mist cruise ship for their first of 12 visits this season. Just a heads up, the next visit will be on June 7th and then one after that on June 19th. As Councillor Borneman mentioned, we had on May 27th as well, the Industrial Park Board meeting. We are in some discussions, preliminary discussions about some new strategies to market the park and ideas to boost sales of some of the lots there. There's an upcoming meeting with MPP Graydon Smith this Friday to discuss the direction and potential for the park as well. And an update on the new security cameras that will be installed. And that is the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Council staff and public, May 21st, I was on hand at 8:30 in the morning to bring greetings from council to open up the 9th Canbec conference here in Parry Sound at the Stocky Center. This conference is a gathering of scientists from around the world, and we are certainly appreciative to have a conference of this caliber in our community. It was another very well attended event, and they love getting out into the community and wandering around, so which is great. May 27th was a district land ambulance meeting. One of the items that was discussed is on the agenda tonight. May 23rd was the invite with the Minister of Education and with our chief building official and CAO to tour the new mega school and go over the progress of the build and the expected progress and opening. May 27th was mentioned the Pearl Mist arrived, and we welcomed the captain and the manager of customer experience as on board. And actually we learned something there, and there's an item on the agenda tonight regard to lighting of buoys so that they can actually stay longer here. So so that was something good to learn. May 29th, I attended the event at Parry Sound Public School, as Councillor Keith mentioned, to help raise funds for playground equipment. It certainly was a well-attended event. There was a booth with some very rare chickens that I found rather interesting. Apparently, in the, I guess, the agricultural or chicken experience or field or whatever, there are certain chickens that lose their popularity over time because of they don't lay as many eggs as what another chicken does. So, but I will say they were very interesting looking chickens. Did you see them, Councillor Keith? Yeah, they're very interesting. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. But what I would like to say is I'd like to thank all the volunteers that put in all of their time at for that gathering, and whether it was for donating some food or whether it was donating, you know, for people to buy or in a booth, that sort of thing. And our fire department, and I believe McDougall Fire Department as well, for being there to support the event. So yeah, and I will make a comment that I really hope that the administration and the board of the Near North District School Board can help this project out, because when I look at what we're spending this year alone on playground equipment in our different parks, and they could put at least a little bit of something from that administration into that school, so that the parents and all the volunteers don't have to work quite as hard. I think there would be a lot of appreciation there. Anyway, I'll probably get into trouble for that, but anyway, May 30th, I attended an event at FYI Doctors and presented certificates to Doctors Bishop and Marshall on behalf of council for their 30 years of practice here in Parry Sound. So that was good. June 2nd was the Pride flag raising event at the township office. And I will say what a fantastic turnout last night. It was really good to see the number of people that came out, and thank them for coming out to help raise the flag. And right after that meeting was the West Parry Sound Economic Development Collaborative meeting. So that's my report. Okay. So moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that Brandon Preeb and David Lomas be appointed to the Facade Improvement Committee effective immediately for a term ending November 14th, 2026. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that council approves the 2024 OREG 588/17 compliant asset management plan for the town of Parry Sound prepared by Public Sector Digest Incorporated. Ms. Phillips.
Thank you. I have the presentation here. Just one
Okay.
minute. I'll get that up. I can share it.
You got too many computers
Sorry.
on there.
Thanks for bearing with me. Okay. So today I'll be reviewing the updates that have been made to, for this iteration of the asset management plan in order to meet legislative requirements for the next phase. Before diving into the specifics of the asset management plan, I'll provide an overview and context on the project and asset management in general. Okay. So the Town of Parry Sound and Public Sector Digest citywide have been collaborating on the asset management plan for a number of years. They assisted with the plan, which was approved in 2022. Our current project, we aim to develop an updated asset management plan that was compliant with the next target of the OREG 588 77 regulation. I'll talk more about those specifics of the regulation in later slides. As part of the current project, we held supporting workshops with staff covering 4 areas you see. So inventory data refinement, risk and criticality analysis, life cycle strategies, and levels of service. So why the need for municipal asset management? We can acknowledge that municipal infrastructure assets are vital for communities, and from our perspective, we need to organize what we own, understand what services we provide, and we need a way to ensure accountability to our residents and stakeholders for the services they use to maintain the level of service. So these 3 objectives are really the driving force behind the regulation and increased awareness amongst stakeholders on the need for asset management. Okay. From a municipal perspective, the value is the level of service that we're providing to our residents. So which can be both qualitative and quantitative. So the cost, how much will it cost for the town to replace and repair an asset? When will we have to incur the cost? Performance, what's the current output or performance of the asset? Is it in poor shape? Risk, what's the potential risk of the asset failing? Who would be impacted, and are we able to identify high risk assets? So those are the questions that we ask through asset management. What does asset management involve? So to fully determine the level of service that we're providing, we need to identify critical steps to address potential downturns and on the level of service. So to do that, asset management should be spread throughout the entire organization. So starting with the asset portfolio or the asset inventory, in short, the town should work towards establishing a centralized asset inventory that's agreed upon by all the stakeholders, and from finance to public works, and has critical data points needed to identify risk, cost, performance, and ultimately the level of service. So that's the objective. Okay, and so with the completion of this asset management plan, the town has established a centralized asset inventory, which now contains 4 key items mentioned here, which is the tangible capital asset inventory, condition assessments for such as road needs study, OSIM reports and staff assessments, life cycle and risk models that we've developed as part of the project, and finally, input and collaboration with staff, consultant, and factoring in general market data. Okay. So these were the deadlines of the regulation. So with the first plan in 2022 that was approved by council, we had to have an asset management plan that was updated and enhanced for all core assets, which were roads, stormwater, water, sanitary, and bridges, and the town met those requirements. We also have the strategic asset management policy, which was required in 2019. So now this phase of the asset management plan, the town had to further enhance the plan to include levels of service and other enhanced requirements for all the infrastructure, all assets. So non-core assets such as facilities, vehicles, machinery and equipment, and land improvements. So in 2025, there will be one more additional asset management plan enhancement, which will include proposed levels of service. So proposed performance of assets, life cycle activities, and costs to achieve the proposed levels of service. So an updated financial strategy and impacts of growth on proposed levels of service. So that would be the next stage, which we're going to continue working towards. So after 2025, the regulation will require that asset management plans get updated each 5 years, and that council will also do an annual review of what the progress is on asset management, because it's really a continuous improvement process, updating the plan, which will be like a live document that gets posted on the website each 5 years. Okay. So the 2024 compliant asset management plan was developed based on asset inventory as of the end of 2023. So this presentation provides an overview of the current state of the municipal infrastructure and recommendations to increase confidence in analysis and decision-making and show the town's financial capacity to meet long-term capital requirements. Okay. So the replacement costs for each asset category are displayed here on the screen. And as you can see, the replacement cost for the total asset portfolio is 515 million. So this replacement cost compared to when we did it in 2022 is 18% higher than what it used to be. And that's due to above average inflationary factors. So replacement costs have been increased along with the actual replacement cost expected for all of the asset portfolio. Okay. Oh. So this table shows the replacement cost method for each type of asset. So I won't go into too much detail, but where we can provide costs per unit and estimate replacement costs, that would be more accurate. So where we can do that, we do that. And then some asset categories are estimated based on the age of the asset, and we inflate replacement costs using CPI factors and that sort of thing. Okay. So the current condition of the assets is central to all asset management planning. So you can see here the distribution of asset condition by asset category weighted by replacement cost. Collectively, 56% of assets in Parry Sound are in fair or better condition. Now, some improvements have been made to the data. With each enhancement, we focus or target specific data to try and improve the quality of the information. So in this asset management plan, we updated, based on roads needs assessment, we updated all the road conditions within the plan compared to 2022, as well as sidewalk conditions and IT equipment and the bridge conditions with OSIM inspection reports. So that's some of the data that's been incorporated into the update. So this table shows the percentage of each asset category with assessed conditions. So the condition of asset relies on both age-based and field condition data. The charts displayed shows the percentage of assets that had condition assessments applied and the source of the assessment. Overall, assessed condition data was available for 50% of the assets. So for the remaining portfolio, age was used as an approximation of condition. But the downside of that is that age-based condition typically overstates the needs overall and the overall deficit of the assets. And assessed condition data builds confidence in the decision-making. So it also helps in that way. So the objective is to get more assessed condition data as the plan enhances over time. Okay, assessed condition data is used in asset management decision-making to mitigate risk associated with asset failure, to identify the most economic intervention, and to accurately predict future expenditure requirements. So the current asset management plan identifies capital requirements over the next 80 years, and the length of the projection ensures that every asset has gone through one full iteration of replacement. So that is what's in the current plan. As you can see, the town is committing approximately 6.8 million towards capital projects per year from sustainable revenue sources such as gas tax, OSIF, tax allocations, and reserves. The average annual requirements for both tax and rate-funded assets to continue to provide the current level of service totals approximately 17.5 million, resulting in an annual deficit of roughly 10.7 million. But put differently, the assets are currently funded at 39% of their long-term capital requirements. So the plan identifies that the target reinvestment rate is 3.4%, but the actual reinvestment rate is 2.7%. By comparing the actual versus the target, the town can determine the extent of any existing funding gap. So based on the current infrastructure deficit, it's recommended that the tax-funded assets see an increase of 2.7% annually, and wastewater rates 0.4%, and water rates 0.4%, wastewater rate 0% over the next 20 years. So the current rate study incorporates an increase that covers that. the asset management plan doesn't contemplate any future borrowing right now, so that's what the plan is based upon. It's important to note that the numbers don't factor in one-time grants or non-sustainable sources of revenue, so these will continue to be essential sources of revenue for investment in capital infrastructure. An adjustment to taxes should also be supplemented with project prioritization and evaluation of desired levels of service. So that's the next step, where we're going to determine what the desired levels of service will be. So that will come forward. And the next steps, we look at, it's recommended to continue to review and refine asset inventory and consultation with departments and stakeholders. PSD recommends a portfolio-wide data governance strategy should be implemented to increase accuracy and confidence in data, and then targeted condition assessments to improve the data as time goes on. In regards to the next step, the town has already, council's already approved the work for the 2025 asset management plan. So that will begin right away after this plan's approved and is expected to take approximately 6 months to complete. And we'll continue with continuous improvement and regular review. And the asset management plan's a living document, regularly updated. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has about that.
It's an onerous task, but it's one that we have to do. I just have one to begin with. On a resolution, it said approves 2024 OREG 588/17. And then I see further in, you got 588/177. Are there two different ones, or is it the
It
same?
should say OREG 588/17. So
Okay.
just strike the extra 7 there. You
Okay,
got
we're
there.
good on the resolution.
Yes,
Oops.
okay, perfect.
Okay, yeah. Counselor Borneman.
Two quick questions. Can you give me an estimation as to how much staff time goes into this on an annualized basis? And secondly, each year currently, there's a 1.8% surcharge for capital expenditures. What does this plan suggest that we do with that amount?
So the plan suggests that we do a 2.7% tax rate increase over the next 20 years, but it doesn't factor in that we're already doing the 1.8, so it's less than 1% increase as compared to that. And as mentioned earlier, the next phase of the plan is to develop proposed levels of service. So through that phase, we can have this is the level of service that you get for 1.8%. This is the level of service you get for 2.7%. And through that process, we're going to hold public engagement through a survey. So PSD will provide questions and then provide some different options developed through workshops as to how we can address the gap, how council can choose to address the gap. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, staff time. Well, it's really hard to quantify, but there's significant resources going into this because information comes from GIS staff, managers. I would say like 1/5 of like my time over 6 months kind of. And then, yeah, just to get you an idea, but this is an ongoing thing. So we're planning to hire for an asset management coordinator to continue manage that, and that's in the budget. And what they will do is help with targeted condition assessments and maintaining the data over time. So it's not such a large jump to get to each plan where we have to update data. And then it would just automatically be updated over time and then we could produce the plan. So that's the ultimate objective, but
And this is provincially regulated, correct?
yes.
Yes, so we don't have a choice in the matter. Some people might think we do. Councillor Keith.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Borneman certainly must have been thinking my mind a bit because he had one of my questions. But what I'm also wondering about, and oh, I should stop right there. There is a lot of material. You've done a quick presentation, but if one continues to read the whole asset management plan, there's another 144 pages. So it certainly is quite in depth. And what I'm wondering about is if this is approved tonight, will that be on the website for anybody who's fully interested? And also, when you're looking at the next stage and you're talking about a survey, will that survey, just so I'm clear, will that also include like an open house? So you have a communication that way also? Thank you.
So through the mayor, so about the open house question. So right now, what's included in the plans is to have the survey, but if council wishes to have a workshop, we can add that as an addition to our services. So that would be up to council. It's approximately 4,000 to just do like additional engagement and workshop with council and possibly the public to do that if council wishes.
Yep.
Well, I would be asking that council support that so that there is an open house.
Let's do it after.
Okay,
Remind me to
that's
do it
fine.
After this.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the first part of the question?
The first part had to do with, there was 144 pages and I noted how long, how much there was there to read and how in-depth it was. And would that whole management plan be on the website? I think the answer is yes, if it's approved tonight.
Yes, if it's approved tonight, it will be on the website. And it also informs OSIF grants and some other grants. So they look into replacement costs of our assets and some of that grant is based on the asset management plan.
So just for clarification, in case anybody is, and whatever, catching on later tonight or whatever, when they're reading it, when they look at that 2.7% infrastructure, this is a figure is just out there right now. One should not get into panic mode and figure automatically that's going to be it. So there's some time, and that's why would be doing a survey and open house, etc.
Yes, and the last plan, the number was actually just slightly higher. And as we improve the data, the number is becoming more accurate. So I would hold off on making decisions till we get to the next phase of the plan and we determine what the levels of service will be and council can decide what they want to do with that.
Any other questions? No? Thank you for that ton of work that you've been doing and the others that are working with you as well. Yeah, it's appreciated. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councilor McDonald, second by Councilor Borneman, that upon the recommendation of the EMS Advisory Committee, the contract for the Burkes Falls EMS base renovations be awarded to Bay Point Contracting in the amount of $545,042, and that a maximum total funding in the amount of $700,000 be authorized to include some site work and architectural fees not included in the tender, and that the project be bridge financed through EMS reserves with long-term borrowing being provided through the Village of Burkes Falls. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Boleski. Whereas access to healthcare is a fundamental right for all citizens, regardless of their geographic location. Whereas Hope Air, a charitable organization, has been tirelessly dedicated to providing access to healthcare by facilitating free flights and other services for patients living in rural and underserved communities in Ontario, ensuring that they can receive vital medical treatment regardless of distance or financial means. Whereas Hope Air has been instrumental in bridging the gap between smaller communities and hospitals far from home, reducing the barriers that often prevent individuals from reaching medical care. Whereas the impact of Hope Air extends beyond the individual patients served, positively affecting families, communities, and the healthcare system as a whole by promoting wellness and reducing the burden of untreated medical conditions. Whereas the compassion, dedication, and commitment demonstrated by Hope Air and its volunteers embody the spirit of community and the belief in the inherent value of every individual's well-being. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the town of Parry Sound that June 6, 2025 shall be known as Hope Air Day in recognition of the invaluable contributions made by Hope Air to health and well-being of individuals in Ontario's remote and rural communities. Discussion, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Boleski that Council, the Corporation of Town of Parry Sound hereby supports the Township of the Archipelago's call upon the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to continue the Lake Partner Program, LPP, partnership with the Federation of Ontario Cottages Association, which collects data on water quality for freshwater lakes, essential for research and analysis by universities, government, community groups, and scientists. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Boleski and seconded by Councillor Keith, whereas the Government of Ontario has introduced Bill 5, Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025, which proposes substantial changes to environmental planning legislation, including the repeal of the Endangered Species Act and the creation of special economic zones that may override local planning authority. And whereas the town of Parry Sound supports increasing housing supply and economic growth, but believes this must be achieved without undermining environmental protections and compromising the integrity of the municipal planning process. And whereas Bill 5, as proposed, risks weakening safeguards for Ontario natural heritage and reducing the role of municipalities in managing growth in a responsible and locally informed manner. Now therefore be resolved, the Council of the Town of Parry Sound supports the Town of Shelburne and the Town of Orangeville's resolution, which opposes the provision in Bill 5 that would reduce environmental protections or override municipal planning authority, urge the province of Ontario to advance housing and infrastructure growth through the policies that respect sound environmental planning principles and uphold the planning tools available to local governments, urge the province to support municipalities through ensuring responsible growth through infrastructure projects designed to ensure protection of sensitive wildlife and natural resources, and directs that this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honourable Todd McCarthy, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Graydon Smith, MPP, Parry Sound Muskoka, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, all conservation authorities in Ontario, and Conservation Ontario. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that Council, the Corporation of Town of Parry Sound hereby supports the Town of LaSalle's call upon the provincial government to establish a grant system similar to the Northern Health Travel Grant Program in Windsor, Essex County to provide support to the residents of Windsor, Essex County when they need to travel long distances for specialized medical services or procedures at ministry-funded healthcare facilities, and that this motion be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Health, and Deputy Premier Sylvia Jones, MPP Graydon Smith, and the town of LaSalle. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor McDonald, whereas the lack of lighting on buoys leading into Parry Sound Harbor has prevented ships from using the channel at night, and whereas Parry Sound has seen increased cruise ship activity in recent years, with opportunity for those ships to stay longer in port over the course of a day if buoy lights were installed. And whereas a number of buoys elsewhere on the North Channel have lights, now therefore the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound requests the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to install lights on buoys leading into Parry Sound Harbor, and that this resolution be copied to the Canadian Coast Guard and MP Scott Aitchison. Councillor McCann.
I wonder if I could make a friendly amendment that to send a copy to the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary here in Parry Sound. I think that they would be interested in this documentation.
Yes. Right. Good. Good. You can.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this one? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor McCann, whereas the Ontario Traffic Council has proposed that Crossing Guard Appreciation Week in all participating municipalities across the province be declared for the week of June 2nd to June 6th, 2025. Whereas each and every day, dedicated crossing guards commit their attention and energy to assisting pedestrians across busy streets as they arrive and depart from school and work. Whereas the town of Parry Sound places a top priority on pedestrian safety and commends our crossing guards for their continued commitment to the safety and well-being of pedestrians. And whereas crossing guards play a critical role in ensuring the safety of pedestrians and have a deep sense of responsibility, an excellent relationship with children, and the dedication necessary to brave inclement weather. Now therefore be resolved that Council does hereby proclaim the week of June 2nd to June 6th, 2025 as School Crossing Guard Appreciation Week in the town of Parry Sound. Councillor McCann?
I recall my first term of council when this came up, and I believe I was acting as deputy mayor at the time. We had invited all the crossing guards for a breakfast at a local establishment, and I think that would be a very generous thought. Once again, is there an appetite for this? Obviously it's not an annual event, but I just thought I'd put it out there to see if for any comment.
Maybe something staff could look at. Mr. Kearns will take a look at it and see what they can do. Okay. Anything
You
further?
Like the mailman, they're out there every day in the rain and the snow and the sleet, so I think they deserve a little.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Pileski that bylaw number 2025-7514 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with the West Parry Sound Recreation and Cultural Center Joint Municipal Services Board for a deed of gift to support the transfer of donations and fundraising for construction of the West Parry Sound Recreation and Culture Center facility be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Pileski that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time. passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion on this? All in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Belaski and seconded by Councillor Keith that bylaw number 2025-7510 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Science North for the delivery of educated-based youth day camp programming considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Belaski that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Borneman?
I want to commend Miss Young and Miss McNamara. I think these next two items are great things for kids in the community, and making better use of the community center is always a good thing. So I appreciate the effort.
That's good. Councillor Keith?
Yes, I have a question for Ms. Young. Oops, I don't think you're on. But anyways, Ms. Young, I'm just wondering, last year, how successful was the program last year? Because obviously it's back again, but I'm interested in the participation.
Through you, your worship. Last year's program was quite successful. You'll see in the report, this week Science North is coming back for 4 weeks. So last week they were here for 2. This year they're hoping to come for 4, and the program is full from my understanding.
Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2025-7511 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Stingers Basketball for the delivery of sports-based youth day camp programming be considered as read a first time. All in favor? Carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor McCann that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Borneman?
Miss Young, my question about this one is why the variance in price between this item and the previous item? Are basketball players tougher on the facility than scientists?
Through your worship, they're for different areas of the facility. So the Science North camp will be using the Stanley Cup Hall upstairs, and the basketball group will be using the summer ice pad.
Mr. Mayor, I'd suggest that we charge equal amounts. They're both community-based nonprofit organizations trying to provide a service to kids. I have a hard time seeing where one causes us much more disruption than the other, I guess.
I guess that would be the question for staff. Does it?
Through you, your worship, the fee schedule is a council defined schedule. So the dollar amount, in coming to that amount, we spoke to the two groups in particular and determined the amount that they could afford, and then ensured that the reduction percentage was the same. So they're both a 53% fee reduction. One space is significantly more expensive to rent than the other. That was sort of the justification in the price difference between the two.
So they're getting a discount.
The same discount from the fee schedule.
Councillor McCann.
I respect Councillor Warnerman's suggestion here, but I'm just wondering, maybe we don't want to open up a can of worms or something here in which you might have another group come by just looking for the ice pad someday and wanted the same price, and it may be, the same the same venue, but a whole different game, so to speak.
Councillor Keith.
Well, I'll just say we established a schedule and we established fees. So we either go along them or we don't. So if we're going to start rejigging everything, then what was the point of ever establishing a schedule and fees? And evidently, if it's 53% was offered for each, let's leave it at there and not get into the weeds any further. Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor then? Any opposed? Okay. Carried. Moved by Councilor McDonald, second by Councilor McCann, that bylaw number 2025-7512 being a bylaw to execute an agreement with Nipissing Parry Sound Student Transportation Services for the provision of a school bus transfer site at the Kinsman Park be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councilor McCann, seconded by Councilor McDonald, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion on this? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor McCann, oh, you remembered it now too.
I remembered it right at the time, but we were on a roll, so I thought I'll just wait till the end and
Okay.
bring it to your attention.
All right, very good.
So anyways, that was a direction, it was
Yep.
rescued, okay, that the asset management plan update include a survey and an open house to examine the proposed levels of service
Right.
for all categories in the asset management plan.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Seconder for that, Councilor McCann. Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? That's carried, unopposed. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Councilor Keith.
Welcome.
Moved by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor McCann, that bylaw number 2025-7515 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that is carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councilor McCann, seconded by Councilor McDonald. Bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? That's carried. Prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meetings. The next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, June the 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Sequence Street, entrance via Gibson Street, and will be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar. Your TV airs council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. And for Cogeco listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.